On to the Monday Nighter. There is a Monday night playoff battle between the Cards at the Rams. Rams favored by 4. I understand why nobody is going to want anything to do with the Cards. What we've seen from the Cards down the stretch, I get it. Problem is, they're playing the Rams.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what to make of this game. I'm leaning Rams, but I don't like the number at 4, right? Like, that's the problem. Like,
that's fair. Like there's been some Rams minus 3.5 available again, depending on your sports book, right? A pretty prominent offshore one was giving, I don't know if they still are, but it was available all week. I grabbed that. I grabbed the Rams minus 3.5. This you'll hear from just about everybody, but it's because it's true. This is probably our only chance to fade Kliff Kingsbury in a playoff game. And maybe it ends up going 0-1 because they lose by a field goal because he does something dumb and like gives the Rams an extra possession, something along those lines. Who knows, right? Look at it, man. Like this Cardinals team, you and I thought they were, and I'm going to use the word fraudulent, but like relative to what their undefeated record and their 10-2 record, and Colt McCoy is out there doing stuff. And again, kudos to them for sort of achieving all of that.
Yep.
But Dennis Green, former Cardinals coach, right? They are who we thought they were. But not only that, they're much worse than we thought they were without DeAndre Hopkins, right? Like it has fallen apart without DeAndre Hopkins. And like, I don't know why everybody seems to be still looking the other way. And it's funny, we put these two teams in the same category because the Rams had that high profile stretch where they lost 3 games in a row, basically all in prime time, or at least sort of heavy focus games, right? It was a Sunday nighter against Tennessee. Then there was that one against Green Bay. That was like, it was a 4:00 game, but it was obviously sort of like the Fox main game. And then there was another one in there that is escaping my memory right this second, but I know it exists. The point, and of course they had this, the destruction game where the Cardinals crushed them in that first matchup this season, right? We look at these two teams the same way, and like I don't disagree with that. I was fully ready to fade both of these teams depending on what the matchup was coming into the playoffs. And so we talked about the AFC matchups kind of going the wrong way for us from an interest standpoint. And the NFC ones have kind of done the same thing, right? Whereas like Philadelphia and Tampa Bay isn't all that exciting. And while the Dallas San Francisco one is getting all the juice because that one is pretty good, pretty much anybody at Dallas was going to be interesting, right? Like Cardinals at Dallas again was at least going to be vaguely interesting. The Rams at Dallas, I was really hoping for as a game, to certainly watch and potentially bet on. But instead we get the, Rams and Cardinals. And like any time you get a divisional matchup, right? It's the 3rd time they've played this season. You go, okay, like I feel like I've seen this already. And so it doesn't have the same cachet. But because we're lumping these two teams sort of into each other, we're sort of forgetting that the Rams, when your man Sean McVay was dancing in the end zone, right? He was like full on like Puff Daddy, right? He's all up in the videos, and and you're thinking, man, like this Rams team looks pretty good, and they had just won 5 straight. Like it was pretty close to a finish the season with 6 straight wins and take the division type situation. Now they ended up taking the division anyway, even in the loss. So sort of all is well that ended well. The only difference was they're the 3 seed and not the 2 seed. And so I just kind of go like, as much as we kind of want more from the Rams because of like all of the, the roster and all of this sort of thing, and it hasn't been like great. And of course you go Matt Stafford throwing all these interceptions, and, there's been some ugly ones again on national TV, but, a lot of arm punts as well, right? A lot of taking shots deep and trusting your wide receiver to make a play and them just kind of not doing it. I still trust Matt Stafford. Like, how did we go from, oh man, the Rams got Matt Stafford, like now it's go time, to like now Matt Stafford is unreliable, right? Or is a liability, if you will, right? And so I just sort of look and I go, okay, like I trust him way more than I do Kyler Murray at this point, because you and I talk about, right, as flashy as like 3 or 4 plays per game look for Kyler Murray, you still look up and they lose to half of a Colts team and they lose to a playing out the string Seahawks team, all in games that they were trying to win, right? This wasn't a play out the string version of that team. They gave away the division because they couldn't keep it, right? They tried to keep it. It just slipped out of their hands over the course of a full 6-week period of time. And so I'm looking at the Rams going like, people don't like the Rams, and they were 5-1 in the last 6 weeks. And people are talking themselves into Kliff Kingsbury as a small underdog on the road here. For what reason? Just losing all of the time. They lost to the Detroit Lions, right, on the road a couple of weeks ago, right? This isn't some road warrior franchise at this point, right? And DeAndre Hopkins not coming back. I knew immediately I was fading the Cardinals when I saw DeAndre Hopkins on the sideline on Sunday on crutches still. Crutches does not equate I'm going to be back anytime soon. And if you're the Cardinals, by the way, think about it this way, inside the locker room, you're looking around, you're the Cardinals, you're like, D-Hop still on crutches, man. And we just don't win any games anymore. And those two things are probably related. What's your feeling coming into this game? Whereas if you're the Rams and you gave one away to San Francisco, but you got away with it from a sort of seeding standpoint, or if you will, or division title standpoint, and you look around and you go, Odell Beckham is here. Whether you think Odell Beckham is any good or not, he is still a presence. He is still a guy that people respect in that locker room. Van Jefferson has had an opportunity to take advantage of the energy that the defense has to give to Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp takes all that energy and it doesn't matter. He still catches balls left, right. It's insane watching this guy play. Tyler Higbee, not a household name, 2 touchdowns last week, right, against San Francisco. Akers is coming back. And while Sony Michel has been serviceable, all right, I'm a big Akers guy. I don't know, fresh off of an Achilles injury, how he's even back. But if he's back, he's back. And at least they have 2 guys to rely on in that run game against a Cardinals run defense that is absolutely garbage, right? It's not a unit that we talk about a ton, but that run defense is legitimately bad. And so you look around offensively and you go there's a lot of talent still here. And then you look on the defensive side, right? And it's we had to integrate Von Miller in, and he's only going to play a portion of the snaps on pass rushing type situations. Jalen Ramsey's playing as good as he's ever played. And of course, Aaron Donald exists in the universe of Aaron Donald, where everybody is just a planet revolving around him in a solar system here. This is the team, this is it. This is the whole point of the Rams is right now. And they didn't do anything all that bad in the season. Obviously that 3-game losing streak notwithstanding, that maybe cost them, again, the 2 seed, obviously this past week, or maybe the 1 seed if they had, beaten Tennessee or whatever. This is still a team that was built for the playoffs, and here we are in the playoffs. And so we're looking at Kliff Kingsbury, a guy who was built for anything but the playoffs, against a team that is built for the playoffs. And all we have to do is give up 4 points. It's not some great deal where the numbers say that we should, this should be a 6-point favorite or anything like that. Those things just kind of don't exist because we all have the same numbers, right? We all know that this line should be 4. If you think that's too many, that's a personal opinion. That's not what the numbers say, right? That's not what anything from a point spread standpoint all season long has indicated. And so I'm looking at this going the Rams were just 4-point favorites or even down to 3.5 against San Francisco last week. Against a desperate San Francisco team that we think highly of when they are at full strength. And now you're going to give me the same point spread against the Cardinals, this just absolute fake team at this point, or these fake superhero team that hasn't won, hasn't had a legitimate win in quite some time here. Because they beat the Bears when Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins came back? What are we talking about here? So, and again, when I sort of have a strong feeling about a game the way that I do with this game, I look around and go all right, where's the resistance? Is this the situation? Is this Vegas and Cincinnati where everybody is on Vegas? And I'm looking for where is the resistance? Oh God, everybody feels the same way. I'm seeing resistance. I'm seeing people take the Cardinals plus the points. That's entering my, speaking of planetary solar systems here, that's entering my universe. And I just go I don't know how you can do that. Now, again, maybe the Cardinals win this game outright. Maybe they cover this spread because it's closer than I think it's going to be. I just don't see that. I think this is that game this week. There's we talked about, your man, Bill Simmons. We talked about him and his theories because, he's sort of the OG with regards to gambling and the playoff manifesto and all of that stuff. And as much as he's just a terrible bettor, it's still he still has, those sort of things on his resume, which is, obviously, the principles. Right. And so and an incredible resume that it is, full respect to him for that. but there's always one, right? There's always one team that looks way better in the first round that sort of strikes fear in everybody's hearts, where it's like, oh, like this team came to play. Like we weren't necessarily ready for like blah, blah, blah in wildcard weekend. Because remember, like it used to be 2 buys on wildcard weekend. So you weren't even getting a top 4 team in theory, seeing them in that first week. And it was always like the 5th or 6th or 7th best team in the league. And you're like, uh-oh, like this team's ready to make a run. And then they would be overvalued and you could fade them the next week and they would end up losing or whatever. I think that's the Rams this week. Now, again, does that mean I'm going to fade them next week? Because again, looks like in high probability that they would play the Bucks, and we just talked about the theory, the fact that they might be a decent matchup against the Bucks. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like maybe the value goes away when we do have to do that because the Rams look really good on Monday night. I think that's going to be the case here. I think the Rams win this game pretty comfortably, being able to do kind of whatever they want against the Cardinals defense. And honestly, Kyler not being able to do all that much against the Rams. So from a total standpoint, I think it's probably right. 49.5. I'm not looking at, I don't think this is, high scoring, low scoring. If I had to sort of guess, let's put it this way, right? Like if we think the Cardinals offense is a little compromised without DeAndre Hopkins, I'm going to lean under on their point total. If we are still sort of worried about Matt Stafford, maybe throwing a pick here or there or doing something, to sort of stunt the offensive potential of the Rams, maybe I'm looking at the under for their team total. And if I'm looking for both team totals to sort of be under, then maybe the under is the play here. I just like the Rams so much more than I do the betting on the total. I'm loath to kind of I'm a one or the other type of a guy when it comes to the point spread and the total. I am much better at point spreads. I did okay in totals this year. I think I went like 5-2. That tells you all you need to know about how often I bet a total. So I only like one total really this week, and obviously talked a little bit about the San Francisco one as well. So staying away from the total, though, would lean the under. From a touchdown standpoint, got to get this in. Again, honestly, it's Friday morning. This game is Monday night. I haven't even done the player prop. I don't even know what my player prop is going to be for the yardage standpoint. But if we look at the touchdown scores, you've got all the obvious ones. Cooper Kupp -138. Anytime that somebody's a minus to score a touchdown, like just steer clear. Like I know, like I know, I get it. Like he's going to be involved, but like holy cow, like -138 is pretty wild. You got Higbee +225. Like that's kind of interesting. The Cardinals here, right? Like you never know who they're going to have on offense, which is bad news for the Cardinals, but good news in the prop market. Antoine Wesley, I don't know that he's any good, but he gets the ball thrown to him and he's +550 to score a touchdown. So he might be your best bet when it comes to a long shot touchdown. Because obviously the Rams, like we know their personnel, right? The 2 running backs that are going to be involved, the tight end that's going to be involved, and the 3 wide receivers. None of those guys are better than like a +200 right now. So as much as we think there will be touchdowns for the Rams, there's just not a ton of value in those touchdowns for the Rams.
Super interesting stuff. And of course, that concludes our wrap here of Super Wildcard Weekend, including a Super Wildcard Monday Nighter.